Anne Boleyn's bee pendant necklace is one of the most famous and easily recognisable pieces of Tudor jewellery, made famous by its depiction in various films and television series made about Anne over the years. But what can this necklace tell us about Anne Boleyn? Why did she wear it? And how do we know that it ever really existed? These are the questions I'll attempt to answer in this video, so keep watching. Most of us are familiar with the story of King Henry VIII's second wife. Anne Boleyn was an English noblewoman who caught the eye of King Henry VIII in the late 1520s after her arrival at the English court, following many years spent living in France as a maid of honour to Queen Claude. After moving heaven and earth to be with her, Henry married Anne in a secret ceremony in January 1533, and in September of that same year, Anne gave birth to a daughter, the future Queen Elizabeth I. However, by 1536, and still with no male heir, Henry began to grow tired of Anne and wanted to take a new wife. Consequently, Anne was accused and, rather conveniently, found guilty of high treason and was executed at the Tower of London on the 19th of May 1536 on trumped-up charges of adultery and incest. Immediately after Anne's body was buried in the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula within the walls of the tower, King Henry set about wiping all trace of his unfortunate second wife from the planet, which included the destruction of all contemporary portraits of her. To him, it would be as if she never existed. However, over 400 years on from her dramatic downfall, Anne Boleyn is still a prominent figure, despite Henry's attempts to erase all memory of her, a fact that would no doubt be extremely irksome to him if only he knew. So, for a modern audience, our vision of Anne comes from the various portraits of her painted after her death, most of which were likely based on a lost original. It's through these various portraits that we begin to get a sense of the woman Anne may have been. Anne is portrayed as having dark hair and eyes, as wearing expensive black garments, black being a very expensive dye in the 16th century as it was so difficult to dye garments this colour, and the fashionable French hood on her head that scandalously showed a lady's hairline. The final and arguably most interesting common denominator across these various portraits is the pearl necklace, from which hangs a golden letter B with 3 pearl drops suspended from it. An individual's taste in jewellery reveals a lot about their personality, and this piece of jewellery certainly stands out. It's a fashionable piece. Similar to today's fashion trends, initial jewellery was also popular during the 16th century, and as a result of her time spent in the fashionable French court as a teenager and young adult, Anne was at the forefront of all the latest trends, something that made her stand out from the crowd upon her return to England in the 1520s. If you're enjoying this video, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel for more historical content. Now back to the video. In all likelihood, the letter B stood for Anne's family name of Boleyn. The daughter of Thomas and Elizabeth Boleyn, her father was a talented linguist and diplomat, whilst her mother was descended from the powerful Howard family. This tells us that Anne was likely proud of her family ancestry and displayed her Boleyn heritage with great pride about her neck. Now, the choice of pearls provides us with another interesting clue. During the 16th century, pearls were a common symbol of purity and virtue in women, and were commonly used by Elizabeth I to uphold her reputation as the Virgin Queen. In Anne's portrait, her choice of pearls could be perceived as her demonstrating her own purity and virtue, as Anne famously kept a lovesick King Henry at arm's length for many years until they were eventually married. Pearls can also be seen lining Anne's French hood along the upper and lower billement, therefore highlighting this point even further. Now, we know very little about the physical construction of the bee pendant necklace, as the portraits we have don't make its design clear. It would appear to be one long strand of pearls that loop once around the neck to form a choker, with the two longer strands lying flat across the chest and disappearing into the bodice. Then again, we could actually be looking at a pearl choker and separate pearl necklace. However, with no view of the clasp, it remains a mystery. The gold chain we can see depicted here is also consistent across portraits of Anne and disappears underneath her bodice also. The use of this pattern in portraiture of Anne, the gold chain either side of a strand of pearls with the famous bee pendant necklace in the centre, are now referred to as the bee pattern portraits. There is another famous painting of Anne featuring the bee pattern in the National Portrait Gallery in London, but due to copyright reasons I'm unable to show it here, but have included a link to it in the description. It's a lovely painting, do take a look. So we can conclude that by wearing this necklace, Anne was clearly a fashionable individual who was proud of her family heritage and keen to encourage a reputation as a pure and virtuous young woman. But that still leaves one question. How do we know this necklace ever really existed? Well, as I mentioned earlier, initial jewellery was popular during the 16th century, and there are other examples of Anne that record her as wearing initial jewellery also, such as preliminary sketches made by the court painter Hans Holbein the Younger of monogrammed pendants and brooches commissioned by Anne and Henry. The fact that the various bee pattern portraits are likely based on a lost original also suggests that this necklace did exist, as it's replicated in later copies. As for the whereabouts of this necklace since Anne's death, well, that really is a mystery. There are unsubstantiated rumours that the 3 pearl drops may have found their way into the British royal family's crown jewels. However, this is highly unlikely, as the Tudor crown jewels were either sold or destroyed by Oliver Cromwell in the mid-17th century, and nothing survives that was original to this period. As with many things in life, it remains a mystery. However, the recent remarkable find of Thomas Cromwell's Book of Hours, seen depicted in the famous portrait of him by Hans Holbein the Younger, goes to show that once-in-a-lifetime discoveries do happen, though finding this particular necklace really would be something. So what are your thoughts on this famous piece of Tudor jewellery? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.